Hi guys, it's Christmas Eve and we have company, so I'm reading to you in my bedroom. I have supper cooking. We're going to eat a little bit late, but it's going to be okay. I hope that you get a chance to watch this. I know there's so many exciting things going on today. We're reading from the Christmas Treasury again. You remember that one? It had some crafts in it that you might want to try to find the book and do for yourself. All right. So, who might be watching? Whoa! I heard that Brandon might be watching. And Luke could be watching. Maybe Paige. Maybe Neva. Maybe Elijah. We'll have to see. Anyway, welcome, welcome. I begin. The Christmas story. You've probably seen this picture or one like it many, many times before. Do you see there's a carpenter with a lady beside him? Well, long, long ago, there was a young girl named Mary, and an angel came to her and said, "You're going to have a baby." And so Joseph, her husband, they lived a long time ago in the town of Nazareth. Joseph was a carpenter, and Mary was expecting a baby. An angel had told her she would have a son. See, just like I said. Mary and Joseph had to go to Bethlehem to register to pay their taxes. They loaded up their donkey with food and water, warm clothes, and things for the baby. They set out on the long journey, which took many weeks. The roads were rough and stony. Joseph had to walk all the way so that Mary could ride on the donkey. They didn't have cars back then. They traveled with their animals. And they didn't have a horse or anything else, so they went on the donkey. Good night. Hi. Nice to see you. When at last they reached Bethlehem, it was late in the evening. The town was noisy and crowded with people who had come to pay their taxes and be counted. Mary and Joseph walked through the streets, trying to find somewhere to stay for the night. But there were no empty rooms. Joseph knocked on the door of the last inn. "All the rooms are taken," said the innkeeper, "but you can sleep in that stable if you like. It's dry and clean." You see all the people? The houses are different in that country, and they're still different today than ours are. They live where it's warm, so they don't need fireplaces and insulation and all that sort of thing. And their animals live close by them at that time. Joseph led Mary to the stable. He made a soft bed, made a bed of soft hay for her on the floor and covered it with his cloak. Mary was very tired. She lay down, thankful she could rest at last. Joseph brought her food and water for supper. There she is resting after the long ride on the donkey. Have you ever been on an animal for a long time, like a horse or a donkey? It's pretty tough. It's kind of like riding your bicycle all day. That you kind of might know how that feels. So that's a little bit how Mary, and she was about to have a baby, which kind of feels like riding a bicycle all day too sometimes. Not really, but that night, Mary's baby was born. She washed him and wrapped him in the cloths she had brought with her. Joseph filled a manger with clean hay to make a bed for the new baby, and Mary laid him gently in it. She called her little son Jesus. The angel had told her that this was his name and that he was the Son of God. See the little baby? And this is a manger. And they're being very careful with the old-fashioned light that's a flame. Now, out on the hills near Bethlehem, a band of shepherds lay round their campfire, guarding their flocks of sheep through the night. There were wolves in the hills which prowled around in the dark, trying to snatch a sheep or a little lamb. So that's why the shepherds were out there. They stayed with their sheep. Shepherds still stay with their sheep today. Suddenly, the night sky was filled with the most brilliant light. The shepherds woke up, staring at the light. "What's that? What's that?" shouted one. Then they saw an angel and were very frightened. Wow. Look at this. There's the bright light they saw. And here's the shepherds. And here's their sort of flimsy wall that they keep around the sheep at night to try to protect them. It kind of looks like a fort you might make at your house out of blankets, eh? Have you ever made a blanket fort? You might have been able to help the shepherds. The frightened shepherds were told, "Don't be afraid," said the angel. "I have wonderful news for you, for all people. Tonight, the Son of God, who is Christ the Lord, was born in a stable in Bethlehem." Then the sky was filled with angels singing the praises of God. And the shepherds watched. The light faded. As the shepherds watched, the light faded and the sky grew dark again. They stood and looked at each other, I'm sure. Wouldn't you be surprised? Kind of shocked. And then one of them said, "We must go to Bethlehem." And they hurried down the hill to the town. Here they are, watching the light fade. The shepherds soon found the stable and, knocking on the door, crept quietly in. They looked down at the manger and knelt down in front of him. They told Mary and Joseph what the angels had said to them. Look at, even the mouse is watching the baby, and they have their tiniest sheep with them to protect them. After some time, the shepherds left the stable and made their way through the streets, telling everyone they met that the Son of God had been born that night. Soon, the whole town had heard about the birth of Jesus. Filled with great excitement and singing praises to God, the shepherds walked back to their sheep on the dark hill outside of Bethlehem. So here they are, telling everyone happily, and then heading back to protect their sheep again. Far away to the east of Bethlehem, 3 wise men, lots of different names for these guys, but wise men in this story, saw a new, very bright star moving across the sky. They knew that it meant something special was happening. They decided that a new ruler must have been born, and they must follow the star to go and find him. Do you see the star? We saw a star they call the Christmas star. If you go on the internet with your parents, you might be able to see the star. It's actually a couple of planets that come together, and they call it that. And I've never heard of it before, but they said it's been 800 years since we could see it. So And see that way they sit on the ground and eat? Lots of places in the world, people still do that. They have special mats and they have their dinner together on the mat, on the ground. And they have special containers that are made out of metal, and they eat different things than we do, and they're very tasty. They're just things we haven't had yet. So be sure to always try just a tiny bit so you don't miss out on something really yummy when there's something new that comes along. So these three wise men from a different country in the east see the star, and they decide they're going to go find the new king that was born. They soon began the long journey, taking presents for the new ruler. They followed the star as it moved across the night sky. They reached the great city of Jerusalem, but no one could tell them about the baby. The star kept moving, and it moved on until it stopped over the little town of Bethlehem. Here they are with their camels. That was the way most people got around when they were traveling distances, because this was probably sand that they had come across. I think that might be a horse. And remember, yesterday we talked about maybe even an elephant, because some places they use elephants for traveling. The wise men soon found Mary and Joseph. When they saw baby Jesus, they knelt down and gave Mary the presents they had brought of gold and frankincense and myrrh for baby Jesus. And then they worshipped him, and quietly after that went home. They didn't go and tell anybody about that they'd found the baby. Do you see? Look at the box. Isn't that unique? Different sorts of containers. And here's Jesus. He's a little bit bigger now. A few nights later, Joseph had a dream. In it, an angel warned him that Jesus was in great danger. People don't like it when strange things happen and strange kings are said to be born. So Joseph and Mary and Jesus quickly left Bethlehem on the long journey to Egypt. After many months, they returned to their home in Nazareth, where they were safe at last and where Jesus lived until he grew up. So that's the story of the Christmas night. That's the original night. Now, nobody knows for sure if it was ta-da tonight, but it worked out with all kinds of other celebrations that were going on around the world to share it. Because there are times that people that believed in Jesus had lots of trouble from other people. And so it was just easier to blend in and not have anybody notice that you were having a special celebration. A long, long time ago, I got this coloring book for my kids. So one day, you guys can look at it too. One of the countries that they talk about in this Christmas around the world is Ethiopia. Now, this is an old coloring book, and so people don't necessarily dress like this anymore, but that's how they did at one point in time. And their Christmas celebration, they had Christianity arrive in Ethiopia, according to this coloring book, in 330 AD. Their Christmas was very different from ours. They celebrate Christmas on the 17th of January, and it centers all around the church. Most of the churches are very, very old, and they're often in a courtyard. It says, now if I can say this plant right, Libella is the Jerusalem of Ethiopia. So that's a city. On Christmas, thousands of pilgrims go to the cities from all parts of the country. Christmas Eve is spent on the hills praying, and waiting for the dawn of Christmas Day. The Christmas procession that they have consists of thousands of nuns and monks and priests chanting, and the ark, which is covered with gold and precious gems, is carried by 4 men. The pilgrims are given bread and meat, which has been blessed, and the men eat the meat raw. The rest of Christmas Day is spent dancing and feasting and doing sports. And then, interestingly enough, if you look, although it's backwards, this side of the book is in English, and this side of the book is in one of the country languages from Ethiopia. I don't know which one, but so there's really interesting things in this one as well. Just want to wish you a really Merry Christmas. Go and go out and finish the roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And if it all works out, I'll see you again tomorrow. Love you. Sweet dreams. I hope you've had a good day, that you're working together, and that all things work out at your house for a happy time. Love you. Jesus keep you. Good night.